This is All of It on WNYC. I'm Allison Stewart. 50 years ago, as America marked its bicentennial, some New York transit workers want to celebrate another American icon, the city's subway system. So they set up an exhibit in Brooklyn's decommissioned Court Street subway station. The highlight was a collection of vintage subway cars, but the exhibit had another transit artifacts like fare boxes and turnstiles. It opened on July 4th, 1976. It was supposed to close on Labor Day, but it proved to be so popular that it became the New York Transit Museum, and it's still going strong. This year, it is marking its 50th anniversary, and joining me to preview the celebration is Museum Director Regina Shepherd. Regina, welcome to All of It.
Thank you. I'm so happy to be here.
So I gave you a quick overview of the museum's story. Why did the employees want to use 1776 to celebrate the city's transit system?
You know, the 70s in New York was not exactly a time when everyone was celebrating New York. And all of the pride that these transit workers had in the system and the fantastic ability to move people and actually really make the city work was what they wanted to show off. And so they took this opportunity.
Now, I gave sort of an overview of how it started. Was I right, or do you mean to add anything to it?
Sure. I mean, what I can add is like the labor of love that it was. Like the city, the transit system didn't have a lot of money. And so these people were doing it all on their own, right? And transit workers, like today, they have access to architects, designers, press people, plumbers, carpenters. And so this was really a labor of love that they did to pop up over the summer.
The 1970s, 1976. What was the 1976 transit system like?
Well, you know, it wasn't at its pinnacle right now. There were some old trains running, some problems with graffiti, and it was definitely a time of rebuilding, right? It was a time of retiring cars and buying new ones, which feels very similar to today, and kind of reinvestment into the system.
Why was the exhibit so popular at the time, and who was it popular with?
I think it was popular with everyone, which we still are today, I'd like to say. But there were locals coming in and a lot of school groups. There was a press release in November of 1976, which was one of the kind of stories that we like to tell of how it kind of continued on, where you had over 1,000 people. There were 20 school groups that came and all of these other visitors. And so in the 70s, that was how they were able to kind of leverage it for the future and kind of keep it going.
What was going on at the Court Street subway station? Why was it decommissioned?
So the Court Street station turns 90 this summer, and it was built to be the first stop of the Second Avenue subway. And for New Yorkers, we know that the first 3 stations opened in 2016. So there was a big time between 90 years ago and 2016.
As one can imagine.
And so that tunnel into Manhattan wasn't built. And so it was just this little station that ran from 1936 to 1946. The train ran a whole 3 blocks, the H8 shuttle line. And so after 10 years, it shut down. But they still use the space for trainings and various things. And in the late 70s, they opened it up for some movie shoots, which it was how they cleaned it up and prepared it before the museum opened.
So what made it work as a space for a museum in 76?
So it was because they were expecting a lot of people to be coming in through Manhattan, there's a huge mezzanine space, which we now use for exhibits, and then 2 tracks that still connect to the rest of the system. So not only you in downtown Brooklyn by Borough Hall, but you had the space to kind of do both exhibits and exhibit trains.
We are talking about the New York Transit Museum. It's turning 50 this year. We're previewing some of the events with Regina Shepherd, the museum's director. Okay, there's lots of events going on. I want to talk about the transit scavenger hunt. Tell us a little bit more about this.
This has been a dream of mine for a long time and has been in the works. And so we have an app that will be a digital scavenger hunt that you can go on all summer. It launches in June and will be up through October. And it will take you through all the modes of transit. There are 50 stops and encourages people just to explore the city.
What's an example of something that would happen at a stop that someone would see on this app?
So I don't want to give too much away. So there are stops that are anything from something at Grand Central to kind of things that are hidden in plain sight.
Oh, interesting.
That you might walk by, but are a substation that powered the subway. And then, or if you were out on Long Island Railroad looking for Dashing Dan and Dashing Dottie on a lamp post somewhere.
All right, so that gives us a little bit of a hint. The week after the app launches, there'll be a parade of trains. I just like saying that. Tell us what the parade of trains entails. details.
Excellent. So we take over some tracks out at Brighton Beach, and we take our vintage fleet of subway cars, so from 1904 through the present, because you can take a current subway car there. And for the tap of your Omni card, you can take a trip through time and jump on aboard 3 or 4 different vintage trains that will be running back and forth at Brighton Beach.
Ooh, what's the oldest one can take?
The 1904 BUs, which were elevated wooden train cars, will be running, and they're old gate cars that just have doors at the end and rattan seats, and they don't even have ceiling fans because you just open the windows for air.
On June 17th, the Transit Museum is opening an exhibit called 50 Years of Stories. What will I learn about in this exhibit?
So the Transit Museum over time, like many museums, built a collection up. And so we have over 1 million items in our collection now, about 500,000 photographs about construction and the various, states of the subway over time, or the whole transit system over time. And this is some highlights from it.
I want to ask you about merch.
Yeah.
Is there any special merch? Because I do like your gift shop.
I love our gift shop, and I love talking about merch. So we definitely have 50th anniversary merch, the tote bags, the pins, the hats. We have a whole collection of new vintage, not vintage, but new pins that are special for the anniversary. There's one for Cardvark, if you are a MetroCard fan and know about the secret mascot of the MetroCard. We have one that is a subway gate. There's one featuring a mermaid from one of the old ads. There are a variety of things that are coming out.
And you have an awesome pin on. I know this is radio, but I want you to explain your pin to us.
So the pin I have on looks like a subway entrance and is the Transit Museum entrance. And one of my favorite things about it is that it's actually magnetic and the globe will light up. So if you activate it, the green globe that kind of symbolizes the entrance for the subway will light up.
It just lit up. It's green. That's amazing.
We've had so much fun with product this year.
I bet you did. Wow, that's really cool. Yesterday on the show, we talked about the Transit Opera as a production of NYU Tish's Opera Lab, their department. Do you see any other artistic collaborations happening this year?
Yeah, I mean, we love to talk about everything, and through the lens of public transportation, you can talk about art, history, culture. One of the things I'm excited about is we're going to partner with Film Forum and do a film series of movies that were filmed in the subway, and there's just so many options. We also have vinyl nights. We're going to have a disco party at the museum in September.
Oh, that's fun.
So there's a variety of things that we can do.
Did you uncover anything in the archives that truly surprised you as you went through the 50 years in getting ready for this exhibition and this whole year?
Whenever we go through our archives, we find something surprising. On this one, we found some old memos talking about, the labor of love that the Transit Museum was, which just kind of having evidence of the things you could see was amazing. But not exactly your question, but one of the things I'm really excited to see in the show is we will have one of the old chandeliers from the original City Hall station will be up on display, so you can take a close look at it. And we also have one of the faces of the Grand Central clock. One of the faces was damaged in the 60s, and in the 90s they replaced it when they renovated Grand Central. And so you have the original face of the clock that you can kind of get up close and take a look at.
That's amazing that they saved it.
It is.
Right.
And once again, my theme here is that the entire Transit Museum is about the labor of love for this workforce, and it's our love back to them and to New York. And so these are workers that were like, oh no, somebody needs to keep that. And those are the things that come into our collection.
Yeah. What do you want people to think after going to the Transit Museum?
I want them to be impressed by the amount of work and understand how hard it is to keep New York City and the region moving and working, and the dedication that it takes to do so.
Explain the relationship between the Transit Museum and the MTA.
So the Transit Museum is a self-supporting division of the MTA. So we are part of it. Our collection is owned by the MTA, but we also have a nonprofit partner, a 501c3, Friends of the New York Transit Museum, that together creates the Transit Museum.
Is there anything I haven't asked you that I should have asked you about the 50th anniversary of the Transit Museum?
The other thing I'd like to say is that we're doing some really fun social media. We have a whole series called Transit Secrets, where if you follow us at NY Transit Museum, you can kind of find out more secrets in plain sight going across the agencies and learn something new.
The New York Transit Museum turns 50 this year. We've been previewing some of the events with Regina Shepherd, the museum's director. Happy anniversary to you.
Thank you so much.